OK， 张总来。刚刚这个我们 finish 的你的这个很好的 speech 之后，我们来加入到现场的这个对话。那么其实现场对话其实很有意思啊。我们看到这个有做公链的啊，有做研究的，其实有做其他的区块链应用的，但是也是泾渭分明，有中国的，有国外的。我们就来看一下，究竟在1024讲话之后，在中国的基础公链的基础上，还有在这个世界上基础公链基础之上，目前为止有什么样的一些突破性的进展和瓶颈，究竟在哪些地方 ？OK, the first question I would like to ask Mr. Craig White. Do you think what are the reasons do you think that restricted the public chains to be widely used in the real world business, and what are the factors that impacted the development of ecosystems of these public chains?
Nothing. There's nothing at all that restricts public chains. In fact, there's only public chains. If anyone tells you they've got a private blockchain, they have a database and they're lying to you. They are defrauding you. They are basically taking everything that is a blockchain and stripping out all of the security, stripping out all of the things that make it work, and selling you snake oil.
Okay. Alex, I would like to ask you the same questions. So what's your opinion about this?
Well, basically my opinion is a little bit less extreme than Craig's, which is not a, not a surprise.
I like that.
Yeah. So basically we are a platform that works with many different blockchains, and we try to help them scale. And basically, but given that there's so many blockchains out there, thousands of them, we have to be careful. It is actually my job that when I talk to different blockchains, try to understand their vision and what do they have to offer to the world, okay? And so basically this is how I have learned about different blockchains and what they are trying to focus on. And hence, I mean, here on stage we have Conflux, so they are one of the blockchains that we are trying to scale and trying to work with. But basically, I think that it's important to understand that oftentimes when we talk about blockchains, the way I understand it initially came out as a way to kind of create a new digital money so that you can actually ship money from point A to point B without huge fees. And that is all great, but I think that we have to really move beyond those basic applications of like, hey, I want to buy coffee at a coffee shop and hence I'm going to use cryptocurrency. I think that the potential is much bigger than replacing these old applications, and some of the stuff that I've seen today make me really happy about what you guys are trying to do and where the world is going with this.
其实不论在支付领域啊，其实在很多领域，中国都亟待等待着一个大规模的区块链应用的项目诞生，特别是在基础设施上。刚刚这个 Alexander 教授，之前跟我说，他有跟这个 Conflux 做一些合作，因为 Conflux 可能也在探索整个公链的基础架构究竟如何去更好的完善性能和这个安全，或者说整个不可能三角的整个环境。我想问一下张总。就是对于目前为止的话，大规模落地这个区块链公链应用的话，目前还在您看来，因为您是做公链的，在您看来有哪些的地方在制约着最大规模的这个应用？其次，您的方案是如何来解决这块的问题的？
我觉得在目前的这个情况下，就是公有链没有被大规模应用有几个点。首先呢，我们赌吧，我们不能说我们肯定。我们赌的一点呢是说，技术仍然是有瓶颈的，它的性能不够好。那我举个例子来说，像以太坊的话，它比如说前段时间呢，这个 USDT 从 OmniLedger 向向 ERC20 转移的时候，以太坊就发生了拥堵。那么最早的时候呢，一个简单的这个non-fungible token 的一个游戏叫 CryptoKitty， 也让以太坊发生了这个拥堵。应该说它的性能还是有一定的瓶颈。那么性能的瓶颈呢，导致大家使用这个公有链的时候呢，它的费用就非常的昂贵。那么现在的话，每一笔交易基本都要花你$0.50，也就是半美元的一个费用。那么这样的话，如果说普通的老百姓去使用它的话，成本还是太高了。比如说就拿滴滴打车这件事来讲， 我需要把我的位置上传到区块链上，司机需要把他的位置传到区块链上，然后再做一次匹配。那么3笔交易的一个智能合约呢，就要花你大概2、3刀的费用。那么其实北京市内的一笔交通的话，可能也就是30、40块钱。那么在这种情况下，即使说这个智能合约的 POC 也就是它的一个demo 项目是可以做出来的，但是没有人会真正大规模的去使用它。这是我认为公有链不能大规模使用的一个第一点，就是技术。那么这也是 Complus 在立志去解决的一个问题，通过树图来提高它的性能。那么第二点的话呢，我们认为就是blockchain 它这个内生的这个数据呢是非常有限的，像比特币、以太坊，它只能记录说 OK 我有几个比特币或几个以太坊从谁那儿转到谁那儿，但它并不知道说链外的数据发生了什么事情。那么这样的话呢，需要有一个可信的机制，把链外的数据传到链上去。那我举个例子来说，比如说我们发了一个智能合约，这个智能合约是赌今天晚上，比如说皇马和拜仁的球谁赢。那么比如说，我赢了的话，你就给我100块钱；要是你赢了，我给你100块钱。那么这个合约呢，实际上是一个很简单的条件判定。那么问题是，到底是皇马赢了还是拜仁赢了？这个数据由谁来传到链上？那如果说他篡改了这个数据，对这个智能合约就形成了一次进攻。那么应该说，现在这个世界去解决一个比较简易的，或者说经济成本也很有优势的一个方式，可信的方式，把这样的一个链外的一个结果数据传到链上去，对智能合约的一些条件判定呢，起到一些辅助作用的这个过程呢，也都不是非常的友好。所以我觉得这2块的发展呢，都如果解决好的话呢，都有助于它的大规模的应用的推广。
OK， 可能蓝总您是这里面4个人里面唯一和应用端最接近的人，因为您可能是把这个区块链包括这个算力在 AI 领域来进行赋能应用的。您怎么看待？因为您也是比较接近于公链基础设施的人，您怎么看待在那个问题上您的一个角度探索的？
感谢李总。在我看来呢，我认为应用本身就是区块链的应用技术的一个瓶颈。如果我们不去考虑技术的应用，那么我们光去关注这个更多的性能或者是区块链的一些技术指标的话，很可能这条路往下走，它距离应用就会越来越远。只有当足够多的应用，我们去思考这些应用如何去通过区块链的新的方式去把它重新整合起来、运行起来，那么才有可能把这个区块链的这些技术真正的更大规模的应用开来。那以我们特斯拉超算网络为例呢，我们是首先去构建了一个分布式的 AI 计算网络，然后呢，我们在这个分布式 AI 计算网络基于区块链这个通证经济的这一套激励方式下，让供给侧进行改革。供给侧改革，他们会比如说我们社区会自主的建设这些计算中心，然后这些计算中心呢再联合在一起形成一个分布式的计算网络，同时这些计算网络呢提供给 AI 的开发者、AI 的爱好者给他们使用，然后我们再尝试用一条公链去把这里边的各个技术元素、各个部分把它整合起来。我相信这样去做的话呢，我们用应用去带动区块链技术的应用，反而是一个更好的方向。事实上呢，经过2年来的发展，我们发现这种方式的话，不管是在这个算力的供给侧还是用户增长侧，这个增长的速度都是非常明显的。而对于区块链的应用来说呢，对我们来讲应该是一个水到渠成的一个过程。
我觉得那个蓝总，您可能从另外一个比较好的逻辑角度来反向思考这个问题，因为刚刚张总也提到了整个这个目前为止解决公链性能方面的一些方案。Okay, Craig, as we know that to improve the performance of public chain, the different solutions have been tried before, including Lightning Network, sharding, and inter-blockchain technology. What solutions do you think will dominate the optimization of the public chain performance in the next maybe 3 to 5 years?
So in 2015, we tested in basically machines that I built 1 million transactions a second. It worked. We're going to be releasing that in what we'll have as Terranode in the future. And it will do not just millions, but eventually billions of transactions a second, the way I envision Bitcoin. And it won't be dollars, like the jokes over here are saying. It will be microcents. Right now it is 20th of a cent. And the thing is, the more it scales, the cheaper it gets. So that's very simple. You have 1 billion transactions a second, it'll be cheaper than 1,000th of a cent. You have a 10 billion and it will be cheaper again. So you can't get data from outside. Bull. I've got 871 patents at the moment, and I have over 100 about getting external data. I have ways of getting data such as time within Bitcoin, including BTC, not only our one. We can include time securely, we can include external data securely, we can have keyed data, we can have all of that stuff you're doing for betting. I did pari-mutual betting applications in 2009. So all these things that people are going, we don't know how to solve them yet. Christ, solved them freaking a decade ago. You're trying to reinvent the wheel to have everyone run everything on a Raspberry Pi. Give it up.
And I would like to ask another question. What's your opinion about, in this area, the performance, improve the performance of the blockchain network? What's your opinion on the Ethereum solution? What's your opinion on that?
Ethereum don't have a solution, they're a joke. They're a bad copy of Bitcoin who didn't understand how you're actually meant to run networks. The whole point of SPV was so that you only validate transactions you're involved with. I mean, this idea that everyone runs the same transactions, that's just asinine. I mean, if you think about it, it makes the total capacity of the network the smallest computer that validates. What you actually do is you distribute things, you run in parallel. But why do you have a hash? It's a message digest. You can do the same sort of thing with computation as well. You can have provable computation so that one party can actually do a complex computation and another can validate it with a simple, quick validation. You can have days worth of computation that using knowledge proofs can be calculated by nodes in milliseconds. And yet, we want to run everything on bloody Raspberry Pis. It's insane.
Craig 先生还是成功的回避我刚刚的问题啊，但是我之后还是会把这个问题往下来延伸一下。Okay, Alex, I think you are one of the best experts in this area. So, what's your opinion on this same question?
So let me first say that I agree with Craig on the economic argument, which is scalability. We often think of scalability as a technical argument. Hey, you can push this many transactions. We are better than that other protocol that can't do that, which is all fine. But then the actual argument is actually economical, which is the more scale there is, the less it costs. The less it costs, the more it's used, and hence this is where I 100% agree with Craig at that level. At the same time, blockchains are these distributed networks. I'm a computer networking person, and I view blockchain as a network, okay? And so in a scenario where you have a number of different endpoints at different parts of the world, and where all of them need to come to the same consensus about what has happened, this is where the networking solution come into play, and this is what we are trying to bring to the world. Basically, our value proposition is like, hey, you don't have to change any single line in your blockchain code. We will help you scale by pushing transactions and blocks beneath you much faster than that is currently possible, because we are actually optimizing this network performance and stuff like that. So I'm incapable of promising that you can go to billions and trillions of transactions per second, but what I can say is that
I can.
Good for you. And so but basically what I can say is that we can push any possible consensus system to thousands of transactions per second and let them do their own stuff on top of that so that they can push forward. But this is something that we think is feasible, and we have actually proven this. I'm not talking about this because I want this to be the case. We've spent good 2 years actually building systems and actually proving that you can actually do something in the real world, which is what we do.
张总，刚刚我们提到了包括分片包括闪电网络，包括这个跨链协议这样的一些提升性能的方式。在您看来的话，未来这里面是不是会有某一型方案会将成为主导的主要方向之一呢？您怎么看待这些目前为止提升方案的主流方式？
我觉得这个技术的不同的解决方案啊，其实最终会回归到它的这个经济原理里面去。比如说刚才提到的一个像闪电网络，那么闪电网络呢，其实是由很多这个中继节点来构成的。那么也就是说，这些中继节点呢，它如果说它慢慢变成一个比较大的通道，它自己呢会承担比较大的这种信用风险。那也就是说，在小额交易的时候，你应该是可以去相信这些中继节点的。那么这些中继节点呢，也在比特币网络上有押金，所以他们呢是说你的这个小额交易的金额没有超过它的这个押金的话呢，你都是大概率可以去相信它的。但是当你的金额越来越大的时候呢，你可能更倾向于在比特币的主网络上去做这个交易。所以说，我觉得未来的这些技术的分层，不管是在底层还是二层网络上。那么应该说，它的这种经济行为，取决了它的这个技术，它的最终被应用的地方呢，应该是取决了它的这个经济价值的大小。那么这个技术跟这个经济价值大小的部分呢，就是说这个技术它提供的安全性到底有多高？安全性越高，应该说，它的这个交易的金额价值就可以越大；交易的安全性越低，那可能它的这个交易金额的价值就越小，但是它可能可以更快捷、更方便。这是我的一些个人看法，这个应该可以推广到其他的一些技术上看。
是的，蓝总，您也是技术出身，您怎么看待这个问题？
在公链的结构设计上面，我们其实反复了很多次。那么我们最后一次决定呢，就是采用这个侧链和跨链这种多链结构。为什么这样呢？就是从应用的角度来说，应用要保证的是，首先这个需要用到区块链去确保它的安全性，还有这个稳定性就是那个不可能三角嘛，你必须要做一个权衡。那在这种情况下呢，我们认为这个主链它一定要用非常稳定的结构，而不应该去考虑过多的这个性能TPS， 这个不应该是我们追求的。那即使以太坊这个你等个1分钟或者是几分钟到账，这也是完全能够接受的。如果你转账的金额比较大的情况下。那么对于侧链来说呢，我们认为侧链要解决的就是贡献确认的问题，比如说这个算力我们的这个提供给 AI 进行这个算力服务的这些节点，那么它如何去证明自己的工作能力，证明自己的工作量、自己的服务量，或者进行这些支付交易那么任务调度这些服务的话呢，我们可以把它放到侧链上面。我们侧链可以搭建像 DPoS 这种看上去不那么中心化，但事实上本身 AI 计算服务的运营来说，它就是分成多个中心来去运营的。那么我们把主链、侧链分开之后，形成一个混合结构。那么这种结构就既能保证交易本身的安全性，同时呢也能够保证服务它的这个高速响应的需求。
Okay, Craig, another question. In 2019, this year, we have seen that U.S. and China are competing in areas of economies and finance and international trade. Do you think blockchain will be the next area that these two countries compete for, considering the features that public chains have, such as decentralization, open source code, and open to public? So what's your opinion? Is that any possible? Yeah.
I don't care, we're British.
Okay, what about British and other countries such as British, American, China, Europe?
Well, we're in Britain. I'm an Australian citizen. I'm also Antiguan. I deal with Canada a lot. I'm over here in China. Let's just say I'm a global citizen, and we've got even in some of the where the hell stands, we've got offices now. So I don't really care. I mean, we're a corporation, so we're happy to be a global corporation. That's all I care. Leave the politics to the politicians.
It doesn't care what's the background of the competition of every country, between every country is competition. So, Alex, you're American, right?
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, I would agree with that in a sense that the underlying technology itself isn't something that where I mean, it's a win-win kind of technology where that promotes transparency and other good things. And so I don't think like whoever wins, it's good for everybody. But on the same at the same time, I mean, I've been to China a lot recently, like 3-4 times in the last 6 months. I've spoken to a lot of members of the Chinese blockchain community, and I can see that. I mean, I've seen a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of talent. And so I think that there is a lot of leverage in that context, and so I'm really happy that we can work with all of them.
张总，正好这个问题，其实国外的人和中国人可能考虑的事情可能有点不一样，方式有点不一样。因为我问过很多的这个圈内人，或者说一些体制内的人，他们认为未来的这个公链竞争可能会变成，因为即便是这个开源的这个公链，或者说这个去中心化的公链，但是未来很可能会成为，最终会成为一个，比如说超级大国之间的各有一条自己主要的这个控制的这个公链网络。您怎么看待这样的一个趋势？会不会这成为一种战略级别的一种竞争，而不是成为一种完全商业化的这种去中心化的一种竞争？有没有可能复制这样的一个过程和结果？因为您是做公链。
我想确认一下你的问题啊，因为我在这个角度好像回音有点大。你是说这个公有链的发展，它不会变成一个商业化的行为，而变成一个国家政治竞争的一个？
或者说有一定量的色彩在背后。
OK。我觉得对中国来说肯定是有的。因为为什么呢？因为中国其实一直都非常渴望人民币国际化，但是应该说提了这么多年这个话题，这方面的这个进展呢，应该是非常的有限，只能通过一些比如说 top down 顶层设计的这个 currency swap 来做这件事儿，并不能形成一个很好的这个由人民币为结汇单位的一个 payment network 或者 trade network， 这是很难的。但是 blockchain 呢，这个 technology 应该说给了一个新的启发，他们所以推出了包括像 DCEP 这个央行 back 的数字货币，那么希望能够去抗衡Libra 或者说美元的这个系统。所以我觉得像 DCEP 这种系统啊，很有可能是带有非常强的政治色彩的。但是像我们 Conflux 还有中国其他许多做这个公有链的这种体系呢，他们可能政治色彩呢会弱很多啊。另外的话呢，我觉得就是说 blockchain 这件事情呢，其实它天然带有一点反政治色彩的这个意味在里面。即使你的 DCEP 是中国央行支持的，那么可能可以在中国得到很快的一个普及，但是你要把它往国外去推广的时候，我猜测它和 Libra 在全世界受到的这种阻力。是可能只能更大，不会更小因为 Libra 还是一个商业实体，像 DCEP 的话，它完全带有国家的这种政治色彩。那对于任何一个国家来说，他们的货币主权呢，都是不可丢失的。所以我也非常期待吧，看这个历史的展开是怎么样的。谢谢。
来也。
我一直认为呢，这个竞争和合作啊，从人类有历史以来，它就从来没有停止过。比如说那个上帝圣经里面，它有个故事，讲的是巴别塔嘛，story Tower Story of Babel。如果说人类都联合起来的话，他们就可以建立一个塔，能够直通天堂。所以上帝呢害怕这种情况发生，于是就让人类分成了不同语言的这个人群，那他们之间就没有办法进行有效的合作。那今天我们发现有了这个人工智能，有了翻译设备之后呢，其实人与人之间的交流已经很容易了。我们在同一个台上可以操不同的语言，那么这是竞争，这是合作的一面。同时呢，由于有了这样的一颗种子，不同的人群之间，他们一定会有不同的立场，一定会竞争。但竞争反过来呢，也会促进这种合作，因为技术它需要交流。所以在这个过程中呢，我们可以看到，区块链的发展看上去是更公平一些。因为上次在乌镇互联网大会上面，傅盛讲了一句话，他已经不喜欢现在的互联网了，因为现在的互联网
那是在我们活动上说的话是吧？
对，他讲了那句话说他已经不喜欢现在的互联网，因为互联网是不公平的。那他喜欢区块链，因为区块链也仍然象征着开放公平的一种精神。
对。
那我相信呢，这个区块链现在还没有完全开始爆发这个领域，但是呢，它已经在引领着这样的一种重新开放合作的一种精神。而这个过程中呢，自然也会伴随着合作和竞争，但是我相信一开始的话，应该是合作更多一些。
OK，Craig，谢谢 Craig, you should know that the Central Bank of China is preparing for issuance of the digital currency. So are some other countries. What do you think the impact will be on the cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, the ETH, and BSV once these digital currencies are launched and put into use in areas such as cross-border payments?
So we have a number of patents in our portfolio covering about everything everyone's doing already. So Libra is covered by at least 7 of our patents. And I wish them all the best of luck because, well, nChain's a corporation. So it's called licensing fees. And I'm very happy if the Chinese government wants to use that sort of technology because we actually file patents in China. And I'm very happy if Libra wants to do it. The way that they're doing is horrible, but if they don't want to understand the technology and they want to do it in a bad way, I'm still happy to take license fees.
Okay. Alex, you're from the US. You know that what Libra has done and what's the barriers Libra face to. What's your opinion about on this issue?
So basically, I mean, regarding the DCP, is that the name of the currency? Basically, I think that oftentimes I talked to Craig today and I told him, listen, Bitcoin itself brings up so many big ideas in itself. I see a number of different big ideas together, right? And so what I'm saying is the question that I keep asking myself often, like, hey, even if it's not decentralized, it's not a decentralized system, if it's only, if we make payments easier and make digital money, is it still useful for something? And I keep getting yes when I ask myself such questions, right? And so this is the level at which I think that this government-based cryptocurrency, which is not a decentralized cryptocurrency by definition, can be very useful, and I think it can actually, we discussed Atlantic today, can help with many problems that the government is facing in kind of fighting the corruption and many other things, because once everything becomes transparent, even if the government is seeing what is going on, I think that can help a lot. And with respect to Libra, I think the way I understand it is that they raised a lot of attention because somebody once told me, like, when something is important, then everybody is going to be afraid of it. So this looked like something like a very big company trying to enter the crypto space, ended up being something that I can see politicians don't like, regulators don't like, governments don't like. So it tells me that there is a fear of competition in that space. That's how I see it.
刚刚这个 X 教授提到了这个，包括这个 Libra， 包括像比特币这样的点对点的电子支付的这个现金网络。那下面呢，我可能要邀请我们的这个同事在现场大屏幕播一个很小的短片，来开启我们刚刚提到的话题中的下一个话题。有请我们同事播一下大屏幕，我们看一下。
你知道中本村是啥？中本村，日本少将大中国人的。中本村，你是说日本人？前两天来我现在说他好像其实是个中国人，应该搞经济不就那经济方面人可能是因为日本经济比较发达。现在在做区块链的那个很厉害的那个人吗？那只是一个单号，但具体是谁也不知道。
All right, okay. So everybody know how I will ask these questions. 我先问一下两位中国的这个嘉宾啊，就是我们先问一下这个张总，比特币白皮书，我们相信在座的所有作为这个区块链从业者都看过，而且都研读过。你认为比特币白皮书对你来说最大的启发是什么？在你后来的这个生涯当中？
因为我不是搞技术的，所以我当时读比特币的这个白皮书对我的震撼可能没有那么大。但是我就觉得这个比特币对我的这个启示，更多是来源于我使用它的时候。比如说，当我可能想要给一个非洲的朋友转点钱的时候，如果走传统的这个银行的方式啊，是非常困难的。但是如果给他转一点比特币，好像就是那么的简单。虽然说需要花一点时间才能到账，但是这个过程啊，让我感觉非常的震撼。另外一个让我感觉震撼的过程，是我第一次接触比特币，我去生成一个比特币账户的时候， 我发现好像也没干什么，就生成了一个我的私钥和公钥还有地址。我说这个过程让人觉得非常的奇妙。我一直担心和别人开出一个重复的账号，当然是我们的这个科学家和工程师告诉我这个概率是极低的。所以这个整个的体验的过程，让我觉得这个是和传统的这个银行的体系啊，或者是信用卡或者是借记卡的这个体系是如此的不一样。所以我觉得感受到这种震撼之后呢，我再回去读这个比特币的这个白皮书，就有了更深刻的理解。我觉得可能大部分的小白如果走我这个路径的话，会理解得更好一点。
蓝总，从技术逻辑角度，怎么来看待比特币白皮书对整个技术领域架构的一个启发？
你确实提醒了我。Actually, I have a question to Craig.
Okay.
I read your book, Craig, the peer-to-peer electronic cash system. I really admire your underlying logic that actually you build up value exchange systems between online and on-chain and off-chain by mining. This is the most sharp point to me when I read that paper. And I also consider this successful belong to you, and you make this accomplished at the beginning of this blockchain industry, which push forward the entire system. But now we have already realized that this consuming electricity and power wasting these issues. We are considering to try to change POW to POS. That's what I'm doing. So what do you think? Will you change Bitcoin to POS?
Proof of shit doesn't work. Now, basically, POS was tried, and it is effectively a security token. I've written papers on this. The security model in POS is easy to game. What people don't realize is I can basically sell a sub-token of a token, and if I've got 50% of the network in control, I can now control that with 25.1. I can then create a sub-token that I can sell, and I can, with 12.6, control that. And I can keep doing that, and I can end up with 0.1% of the network that actually controls the network. There are so many ways of gaming proof of stake, it's not funny. If you even mention that, then I'm sorry, I've failed. And I have. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time educating people because the actual mining does not secure Bitcoin. It's an economic function. As for proof of work needs so much power, we can scale Bitcoin to billions of transactions a second, global commerce. And if we do that, it will be cheaper than a small regional bank to run. Right now, we're not looking at the cost of doing transactions. We're saying, oh, there's mining. Right now, Visa uses something like 100 times the electricity of every cryptocurrency. We can make Visa cheaper, faster, more secure. That simple.
Can I just, I have a quick comment regarding the Bitcoin white paper. As an academic, when I first looked at that paper, I told to myself, oh, this would never have ever been accepted to any conference. Right? Because we academics are very picky, and then you would get reviews like, no, this is not going to work, this is not going to fly, here we do this and we do that. And the real success lies in the fact, and to me as an academic, it's also rewarding is that it actually made such a huge impact, despite the fact that it has never been accepted to any conference. So congratulations for that.
If I can make a comment there. I had a number of papers, and I ended up 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, coming over here to China, because at the time they were happy to grab academics and publish guys from the West. So I've got quite a number of papers that I actually published on these sort of topics in 2010 and things in China, because like you're saying, no one was accepting them, and they were all saying that I didn't have a clue what I was talking about.
Okay, let's get to the key point. You know that Satoshi Nakamoto is supposed to be the spiritual god in this area, in this industry. Craig, to be honest, are you sure you are the guy?
Yes,
How can you
I'm the
prove
guy.
that?
Well, for a start, I actually submitted it as part of my thesis in my Doctor of Law. So that one's a nice, easy one. And that was submitted in the first paper was October 2007, which half of the white paper's in. So that went to the university, who luckily still has a copy. My lawyers have that now. The same way that we prove things throughout history, in reality, it's not by saying, I've got a pseudonymous key. That's the Dread Pirate Roberts excuse. It's real world things. You realize people were pseudonymous authors 300 years ago, and they proved identity. And yet we have this system where we tell people we can't.
Yes, because I don't think it's no use to prove yourself, Satoshi Nakamoto, because in everywhere people discuss if Craig is the real one, Satoshi Nakamoto. To be honest, many people doubt, many people criticize you on this issue, and to be lucky, I know someone who is the very early stage developers of Bitcoin network. He told me that in the past decades, he showed me a screenshot, which is he talked to Satoshi Nakamoto himself in the email conversation area. So he figured that Satoshi Nakamoto must be maybe a team, not one person. Yes, he says he's a very early stage of the Bitcoin network developer. Do you think, what's your opinion on that? I just
No,
wonder.
I'm not a team. I had other people look at my papers, I had other people do things like that. I'm still not a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that came about because people don't want it to be me. As Gavin already said and whatever else, I'm sorry, but I'm a prickly bugger. I am not a spiritual lead. I'm not I'm a human, I'm a man. I'm not a god, I'm not a Buddha. I'm not going to sit on a mountain and you're not going to pray to me. I work hard. I've been in university for 30 years. I'm working on my 4th doctorate because I'm absolutely crazy, because you don't actually get any economic value out of having more than one, but I'm just insane enough to keep going. I love study. That keeps me away from people a lot. It's been hard for me in the last few years to start getting used to actually being near people. I mean, I came from a background where basically they wouldn't even let me teach undergraduates. I only taught masters and doctoral students because, well, anyone who knows me will understand why. Which, even then, I only got the Asian students mostly because I was the hard marker, the hard course guy. So I only got sort of the top students and everyone else hated me.
I see Alex keeps smiling on his face. So, you want to say something?
So, I mean, I can help the discussion by publicly claiming that I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. So, I mean, problem solved at least at that level. So I mean, I met Craig 2 hours ago for the first time, and I mean, my impressions are. I mean, I told him like, hey, you seem to be quite a normal person, and we had our discussion went pretty well. He is quite opinionated guy, as we all know, but I mean, that's what it is.
任杰
So I respect what Craig has done for this community. There's a lot of stories I've read about Craig. But to me, I would love to believe in the story that Nakamoto Satoshi is a team. It's actually a community, a spirit that people should respect and even inherit. 所以说我们应该是，我觉得我更愿意相信中本聪的这种精神，它是一个 team， 它是一个社区。它是一个开放开源的一种精神，所以我们就是向他致敬的方式，也是用我们的考仔吧，我们英文叫 Conflux Fiction，Confi 简称，是我们团队里的每个人他都是考仔的一个形象的化身，所以我们也用这样的方式来致敬中本聪。我觉得这样的话呢，它可以 有那样的一种形式去让所有人都参与到当中，让自己感觉他就是这件事情的主人翁。我也觉得这是最能让这件事情变得最具有包容性和开放性、最 inclusive 的一种方式，然后让区块链的世界的边界不断的扩展下去。谢谢。
There's a moment I believe you are the Satoshi. After your speech, your passionate speech, 就是有一个瞬间，我是相信他就是中本聪的，就在他刚才做完那个演讲的那个3秒钟之内。I still wish you are really Satoshi because I read your paper and I'm sitting right beside you. It's my lucky if you are really. I hope so.
Well, I am. And the simple answer is, I don't care if you believe. I'm not asking you for money. I'm not raising an ICO. I'm probably the only person I've been in half the conferences with in the last year who doesn't have a new token, a new coin, or whatever else to raise money on. I'm not begging for help. We fund our own company. I'm spending my own money coming to conferences. I don't get paid to talk, ever. Not like Antonopoulos or whatever else, and please sir, can I have some more money? So I'm not that. We pay to be in some of these things and help. So if you don't like it, too bad. The simple answer is we're going to build, we're going to scale. In the next couple of years you'll see millions of transactions a second. You'll see it cheaper than anything else. You see it more secure than anything else. Within 2 years I'll have 2,500 patents, so I'll have double Edison. And if you don't like patents, stiff. So that's simple. I mean, the end of the day, my answer is, I don't need your help. What I want is for you to build something better. I don't want you to build my system. I want you to build yours. I don't want a community of me. I'm a grumpy, freaking prickly old bugger, and you don't want to be like me. I want you to build something else. The internet is one protocol. You don't want 100 internets. You don't want 1,000 internets. We had that in the 90s. It all fell apart. Even Microsoft made their own. Yay, Bill. So instead of inventing the wheel for the billionth time, use something on top of the protocol and build something really cool. Go back, read some of the old textbooks on peer-to-peer networking, and find out all the cool things that could be done, and do them. Except this time, solve the double spending problem, why they all failed, by using Bitcoin. Raise money not from an ICO, but a real company, one that delivers value, not a promise that you can pump and dump, but real value. You know, earn money through hard work. Create. Have people be proud of you. And make me happy by showing me up and making something better.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. 不管怎么样，刚刚我们来访问了4位嘉宾，4位嘉宾都在各自的领域为区块链、为整个数字货币全球市场做出了很多他们各自的贡献。OK， 这里有一个问题，但是我们可能现场的时间有限啊，我们一会儿在群里面可以问，然后我们线下您可以跟这个 Craig White 先生单独交流，因为我们确实现场时间有限。那我刚刚也借用 Craig White 的一句话，就是不管怎么样，我们希望每一个人都用自己的这个力量去贡献、去建构整个区块链世界、技术世界，更好的为实体、为这个社会经济发展而付出更好的努力和促进，这也是我们所有人，也是区块链的原始精神，去共建、去共同分享、去共同构建一个更加美好的未来。非常感谢4位嘉宾的群情参与，感谢。Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Craig. Wonderful.